What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist here with
Gershwan.
and once again we're back at it to answer more questions of another For the Greater.
This is a video series where we answer the questions left by you, the viewer. If you have a question for us, comment down below. Put question in front of your question because we get those questions first. Also, if you like our content, you like listening to us talk about Warhammer 40K, support the channel with a super thanks. If you do, you could lead the next greater WAAAGH, and that is what?
Lewis Doyer has done. His question is, if you were a member of the Ethereal cast and you know everything you currently know about 40K, how would you counter and resist the Imperium? How would you prepare for a confrontation with a Primarch?
You snuck in two questions in one. So first, let's answer, how would you deal with the Imperium?
Yeah, so the Tau are very interesting. So if you don't know, here's a quick little brush up on them. They are a technologically advanced alien race that are founded under the greater good. Using the greater good, they have allied with a bunch of other mercenaries, I guess you can say, or other alien species, such as the Kroot, the Vespet, etc. But they're very powerful when it comes to fighting hit-and-run tactics with plasma weaponry.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to the Imperium, the Tau, the best thing that they can do is capitalize on the fact that each planet is its own kind of government. Mm-hmm. So regardless of what type of planet it is, whether it's an agri-world or a civilized world or whatever it is, the Imperium kind of lets the planetary governor take hold of that planet and run it however he wants. So using diplomacy to basically do the same thing that gene stealer cults do, but not biologically, like implanting like seeds of rebellion and all that kind of stuff. Exactly. So let them be, but plant seeds of rebellion.
Mm-hmm. Let them be, let them go. If they come back to you, it was meant to be.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's kind of what they do anyway. Before they go to war or anything like that, they do diplomacy. There is an entire cast devoted to that, to the water cast.
Yeah. And I think that highlights something about the Tau that just makes them so successful. It's not so much that they're technologically or it's not that they're superior technologically by numbers or anything like that. It's just that they do smart things like that, like talking.
Right, they're not stubborn to the point where if they're getting overrun, they won't die fighting. They will retreat to live and fight another day.
So let's learn from the Tau Empire and get out before it gets bad.
You're in over your head. But say that doesn't happen and you are in over your head and you're facing a Primarch in the battlefield. How do the Tau combat this?
They don't.
Yeah, they have nothing that is on the level of a Primarch. Even when it comes to Titans, they have like the Taunar Supremacy suit, and even before that, they have like the Manta Destroyer. Those are Titan killers, but they're just like flyers or like a very slow, almost stationary gun line, and that is just gonna fall when it comes to Warhound Titans, Imperialis class Titans, on all these other Titans. Like the Tau aren't to that level. Yes, they have like named characters like Shadow Sun. But again, Shadow Sun is not. She's like Captain Chapter Master level, not Primarch level.
Yeah, if anything is Primarch level, it would be the Ethereals because of the control they have on their people. But on the battlefield, they just can't. They can't compete.
Literally, Gilliman or the Lion will just cut a line of devastation wherever they're at on the battlefield, and pretty much the Tau have no ways of winning.
Yep. Good question. Thanks for the super thanks, and let's move on. Next question comes from X Winters Wrath X. What's your favorite soda and alcohol? Also, is there any alcohol in particular that have/drink in the Imperium or other races for that matter? Yeah, I actually have a 40 facts video on the food of the Imperium. So I think it's called Amasek, is the Imperial like distilled whatever. Mm-hmm. And then the orcs have their own brew for mushrooms, so it's probably a psychedelic. The Eldari also have something, I can't really remember what it is. But yeah, every single faction has that. So what's your favorite soda?
I'm going to do the plain old Coke.
Same.
Yeah, Coca-Cola, it's always been like the go-to. Pepsi, if there's no other option. But yeah, Coke is number one.
I think for me, surprisingly, drinking Coke out of a mason jar is just so good. I don't know why. There has to be ice in it, obviously, but like, that.
Yeah, that nice ice cold Coke. Yeah, really hits the spot with some taquitos.
Oh yeah. And then, what is your favorite alcohol?
I don't think I have a favorite. Like, whenever I drink, every beer I've tried is nasty.
Yeah.
Angry Orchards, I could tolerate it.
Yeah.
When it comes to like alcohol, I mean, I'll drink it, but I haven't really found a favorite.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like, I think beer just tastes gross. So no favorite for beer. Ciders give me a stomach ache. Wine makes me sleepy. But when it comes to like hard liquor, I think it's like between tequila and whiskey. No particular brand. I've been drinking Four Roses for a while with whiskey, and then tequila usually. I don't know. I haven't had any tequila in a while. But yeah, good question. Next one.
He's Real asks, have any Drukhari ever tried to use pleasure to appease Slanesh and satisfy the thirst, rather than just pain? I originally suggested this as a joke, but as I've thought about it more, it seems like a legitimate question. Slanesh doesn't really distinguish between positive and negative emotions, so shouldn't intense joy satisfy the thirst just as well as intense suffering? So you're a little confused here.
Yeah.
Because the Drukhari aren't indulging in pain because they want to appease Slanesh. Like, that's no. They want nothing to do with Slanesh.
Yeah, so they indulge in pain because it lets them live longer. That's why so many of the archons and just every single, like the witches and stuff, live so long. You got to remember that the Eldar are super, super arrogant, and they don't feel that they need to have patronage, especially from a patronage from a person that, or a god that destroyed their
culture, their civilization.
Culture. Yeah. So there's just extreme hatred for them, and also Slanesh would not care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Like you said, Slanesh does take belief, pleasure, power from both intense positive and intense negative.
Yeah, and then think of the Eldar to Slanesh like food. So Slanesh would much rather eat the Eldar soul than have the Eldar feed it, like through pain, pleasure, all that kind of stuff. So yeah. Next question comes from Erok9. What do you know of the Angel of Destruction, aka the Primarch Zero? So we actually have an entire episode dedicated to that. Reference that in the previous videos.
Right. The big one says, do you guys think that when I die, I'll be buried in a fancy coffin? Or will my pathetic corpse be tossed into a pauper's grave, forgotten and abandoned forever?
Probably the second one.
Yeah. There's a lot of poppers around here, so try not to get popped.
Yeah, don't get popped. Next question comes from Neo Acid Creep. Where is my I Simp for Gersh shirts? No merch yet. We've never had merch, right?
No, not yet.
If you guys want merch, let us know in the comment section below. What would you want? Just a picture of us going WAAAGH.
Some dice where the sixes are like your face and the ones are my face.
Oh yeah, there you go. They will be loaded.
Or a one of those like molds where you can like make your own fists for Arthur fists and whatnot. Penis. It's penis, guys.
Yeah.
Now to the actual question from Mitchell Johnson. Is the warp so weird that people cannot conquer it because demons live out there?
No, it's more complex than that. Like, the warp is so weird. It's unfathomable to us. Like, time and space isn't like a thing in the warp. You know what's crazy? I was listening to this podcast. It's a Spanish podcast by this guy named Roberto, MTZ or something like that. But he was interviewing, talking to this guy, and they were talking about how your thoughts. There are two schools of thought that either you believe that your thoughts are just like neurons being fired in a particular way, and those thoughts themselves can be replicated through, like, if you ever had a computer strong enough to like duplicate what a mind can do, it can create an AI that has thoughts. So it's that field, and then the other field is that thoughts are the only not real thing. So there's reality, which is what you're experiencing now, but the thought itself, the thought is not reality. The thought is something else. And that something else, I feel, is like the warp. Within the warp, we can run through so many scenarios in our heads and create these little stories that don't exist. Like
True.
40K does not exist, but we can create these things in this like other dimension kind of thing that is the thought dimension. And I think the thought dimension is the warp, would be the warp. And for us to go into that thought dimension, it would be like us dreaming, or it would be kind of like a dream world where like everything makes sense. Everything is happening all at once kind of thing.
You lost me at dreams because apparently you don't have nightmares.
I don't have nightmares, but I do have dreams. I just wake up crying at like 3 a.m.
Like, wow, that was a really bad dream, but not a nightmare.
Not a nightmare, no. But when I heard that whole concept of your thoughts creating an entire dimension within and of itself, where like the thought actually exists, it made me think of the Imperium.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I could see that.
Yeah. So in our world, if like our thoughts and dreams ever started coming into reality, kind of like with Freddy, right?
Oh yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. So like Freddy technically is a warp entity, and the warp is that dream world. So that's how I'm starting to look at the Imperium.
Would he be a warp entity? Because he started off as like a person.
Then he would be like a priest that turns into a plague bearer or something. Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah. Or gets empowered by one of the patron chaos gods.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. So what would that mean? Like, so then the Emperor is essentially using this Imperium to gain power. So he's using something that doesn't exist to strengthen himself.
Yeah. So like, which is what we do when you look in the mirror and you do, what is it called? Where like you're like
self-empowering, like hyping yourself up.
Yeah, and then it works because like you have confidence, and then you go out there and then you actually do it.
That's true, and you're getting confidence from nothing.
From nothing, yeah. So I think in that way, the warp, like if in 40K, like if 40K does happen, we are living at a time right now where the warp is just thoughts to us, but there's an emperor out there right now that is manipulating that other dimension to his thing. And maybe that's what magic is, and maybe that's what all that like superstitious stuff is.
So that's why we're seeing that aliens are real now.
Oh yeah, for sure. And well, not even when they say aliens, did you catch that it was like non-human?
Non-human biologics, I think was the word or the phrase.
So I've seen a couple of videos saying that it's other dimensional beings. So the idea that like it's physically impossible for us to travel to the nearest solar system that is habitable. So that still reigns, like that's true. But what these beings are, these alien beings, might be beings that don't exist where time is linear. Which makes sense why that little Tic Tac thing would do such crazy shit. Because to them, they have a whole nother dimension that they can operate in. Yeah. But anyways.
Thank you for those questions, guys. Hopefully we've opened your minds and have given you something to fathom and interpret for the rest of this day, because my mind is currently blown.
We discovered the warp. It's your thoughts.
Yeah, we're all psychers now. We're achieving the Emperor's true humanity form.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys, and we'll talk tomorrow.
Yeah, keep these questions coming, and so will we, because that's physical, not immaterial. And yeah, it's been the Sound Alchemist.
Gershwan.
And we are out.
Always used to put my freedom first in any situation.